So we are here for our second week of Yoga for Runners with Crushing It with Melissa Martin from Downdog Flow Yoga and Pilates here in Bedford, New Hampshire. She's going to take you through 30 minutes. Last week felt so good, so really enjoy this time. And thank you so much, Melissa. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you.
Hi.
Good to see and be with you guys again this week. This week I really want to focus on the calves and the hips. So I'm going to bring you through a practice with that. If you have blocks, you can use the blocks for the practice. Also, if you have a strap, you can use the strap too. But I've planned the practice without using any props. So we will get started in child's pose. So you'll come onto your knees and walk your hands out and sit your hips back as you drop your forehead down to your mat, or if you have that block, you can bring it underneath your forehead and just start to breathe a little bit deeper as you sink your hips down towards the floor. You can even rock a little bit side to side, just getting into those hips. And then from here, we'll walk the fingertips over to the right and reach your left fingertips a little bit further than your right and sink your left hip down towards the floor. Keep breathing into the left side of your body. Take one more deep breath here. Exhale it out. And then walk your hands back through center over towards the left-hand side and reach your right fingertips a little bit further than your left and sink your right hip down towards the floor. Take one more big breath. Bring your hands back to center, spread your fingers nice and wide. Press yourself up into a tabletop position. And you can roll your toes over if you'd like. Take a deep breath in as you lift your tailbone up towards the sky or towards the ceiling and broaden through your collarbones. And then round through your spine, push the floor away. Tilt your tail up, look forward again. Round through the spine, push the floor away. One more time, tilt the tail up. Round through the spine. Keep that round and lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Now feel free to walk your feet in a little bit here if this feels really tight through your hamstrings. You can also bring your feet nice and wide to the outsides of your mat, or if you're using a towel if you're outside. And then just shift your hips back, relax your neck, relax your head. Feel the stretch through the back of your legs. And then just start to kind of pedal it out. So bend one knee and then the other. Shift your weight a little bit side to side. You can kind of shimmy through your hips a little bit. And then come back to center. Start to walk your feet a little bit closer now. Take your left foot behind your right and shift your hips back. You can lift your toes up too if you want a little bit more of a calf stretch there. And we'll breathe into that and hold there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the left foot there and switch to the other side. So crisscross your right foot behind your left. And again, you can lift your toes up towards your shin or towards your ankle. Feel a little bit deeper calf stretch there. Draw your hips back. And then release your right foot. Look forward and just walk up to the front of your mat. Feet are about hip width distance apart, maybe even a little bit wider. Bend in your knees and really try to sink your chest down onto your thighs.
Reach for opposite elbows or maybe hands to the ground or to the floor and just sway it out side to side, relaxing again through your upper back, through your neck, not holding any stress or tension there. And then come back to center. And now you'll take the front of your mat and roll it up. So you're going to roll it about halfway. And then from there, take your toes and step up onto your mat so that your heels are planted down. And again, bend slightly through the knees and fold over the legs. You can start to straighten out a little bit if you'd like a deeper stretch or feel like you can go a little bit further. And take one more deep breath here. Exhale it out. And then step forward so that your heels are now on the edge of your mat. Your toes are on the floor or on the ground. You can splay your toes out towards the side and draw your heels in, and then sit down into a squat. If you have any knee issues, you might want to stay up a little bit higher here so it doesn't put extra pressure on the knees. And then just sit down. Your hands can come in towards center, or you can kind of take like a rounded squat here so you feel a little bit more through your upper back. Just really focus on letting those hips kind of sink down. Take one more breath here. And then lift your hips up. Step off of your mat. You can roll your mat back out. And we'll step to the front of the mat, feet about hip width distance apart. Reach your arms up towards the ceiling or towards the sky. And shift over towards your right hand side. So take your right hand to reach for your left wrist. Plant your feet down and really lengthen up and over towards that right hand side. Come back to center and switch. Take your left hand, reach for your right wrist. Reach up and over towards the left hand side and really plant your feet down. Come back in through center. Fold over your legs. Take a breath in as you lengthen out here. Maybe bring your hands to your shins. And then step back into a plank pose, top of a push-up. Lower your knees down and then your chest. Come onto the tops of the feet. Roll your shoulder heads back as you lift through your chest, coming into cobra. Shift your hips back, roll your toes over, press back into downward facing dog, and kind of just shimmy your hips a little bit side to side. Take another breath in. And then rise up onto your toes, bend, look forward, take a walk up to the front of the mat into a halfway lift, and then fold over the legs. Rise up to stand, reach your arms back up, and then fold again over the legs. Lengthen out, long spine, halfway lift. Step it back to plank. Lower your knees down into your chest. Roll over onto the tops of the feet, lift up cobra. Roll your toes over, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Walk the dog out again. This time, step your right foot forward towards your right hand. Frame your front foot, and maybe if you have blocks, you can use those blocks here. Send your right outer hip back and look forward as you come into pyramid pose. Take one more breath in. Push off of your back foot, bend your front leg, and crisscross your ankles at the front of your mat so that your left ankle is behind your right, and fold over the legs here. More than welcome to pop those left toes up too and get a deeper stretch there through the calf. Take one more breath in. Exhale. Take that left foot, step it over to the left side of your mat. Bring your heels in and toes out again. Either stay up a little bit higher in that squat or sit down a little bit lower. One more breath. Exhale. Lift your hips up. Turn your toes to face forward. Come to a halfway lift. So hands could come to shins again. Bow over the legs. Step back, plank. Lower again, knees, chest, or lower part way. Lift up, upward facing dog. Hips send you back, downward facing dog. Left foot will step forward towards the left hand. And again, frame that front foot using blocks or just the floor. Send your left outer hip back, lift and lengthen through your chest as you create a nice long spine. One more breath here. Push off of your back foot, crisscross your ankles so that now your right ankle is behind your left. Fold over the legs. You're more than welcome to pop the right toes up and get a deeper stretch in that calf. Take one more breath. And then step the right foot out to the right, and then heels in, toes out. Sit it down again, back into that squat. One more breath. And then lift your hips up, turn your toes to face forward into a halfway lift. And then fold. Just step back to downward facing dog this time. And take your right foot and turn it out about 30 degrees. Keep your right leg somewhat straight, but bend your left knee and really push into your right hand. So your right hip is drawing back. So you should feel a nice opening right through here, maybe even down the IT band, maybe even a little bit through the calf there, the outer portion of the calf. And then come back to center, kind of pedal out the feet again. And we'll switch sides. Turn the left toes out about 30 degrees. Bend your right knee. Keep your left leg somewhat straight. And then push actively through your left hand so that your hip is drawing back. And you can feel that stretch right down the left side of your leg and into your calf. Those of you who suffer from IT bands may be feeling this a lot right now. So this is a good one to do. And then come back through center. Lift up onto your toes so that your heels are lifted up. And then drop your heels down and curl your toes up towards your shins. Lift up onto your toes now, heels lifted. Drop your heels down, curl your toes up. One more time, lift up onto the toes. Drop it down. Step the right foot forward towards your right hand and ground down through your back foot. Bend in your right knee as you rise up off of your front thigh. Reach your arms up so you have a little twist over your front leg here, coming into warrior one. Open now into warrior two. So the legs stay the same. Push the palms down so they're nice and active, and you're feeling this through the front of this right thigh and really active through the back part of that left leg. So grounding down to the outer edge of your left foot. And now add in a little bit of movement so you can feel this a little bit here in the side waist or the hips. You're shifting forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. 2 more times. Shift over that right thigh. Reach your right hand to your right shin and lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. If this is too much, you can bring your right hand to your hip here and still get the benefits of this stretch. Rise back up to warrior two. So rebend that front knee. And then bring the hands to the floor. Pivot on your back foot. You can step it up a little bit here so that all 10 toes are facing forward. Send your right outer hip back, maybe hands to blocks again. And if it feels okay, you can pop your right toes up and start to fold forward. So now this is a pretty deep stretch here through the calf, through the hamstring. Again, you're more than welcome to step in a good amount if you need to there, especially for balance if you don't have any blocks as well. Take one more deep breath. And then bring the right foot to the floor, push off of your back foot, step to the front of your mat here. And again, you could just take that forward fold that we did at the beginning and kind of sway it out. Or if your hands are touching the floor and you can get it so that your hands walk underneath your feet and your toes are kind of up at your wrist creases, then you'll go there. Lift and lengthen through the chest as you look forward, and then fold over the legs as you drop down. Relax the shoulders, drawing down your back, heavy through the head. Take one more deep breath. And then release your hands, halfway lift to lengthen out. And then step back, plank. Lower to your knees and your chest or part way. Lift up through the chest, forward facing dog, and back to downward facing dog. Left foot steps forward towards your left hand. Back heel spins down. Big bend in that left knee as you rise up off of the front thigh. Little twist over that left thigh. Shoulders draw down as you come into warrior one. And now open warrior two. Shift a little bit forward and back, kind of get into your side waist. And then come over that left thigh, reach your left hand to your left shin. Right arm reaches up towards the ceiling as you come into triangle. Right hand could come to your hip or left hand could come to your hip. Either or works. And then re-bend that front leg as you lift back up into warrior two. Hands will come to the floor. You'll pivot on your back foot. And again, step it up as much as you need to. Hands can come to blocks. And then left outer hip draws back. Nice long spine. Maybe you pop the left toes up to deepen this. Maybe you don't go that far. And then fold over that left leg. Bring the left foot to the floor, push off of your back foot, step it forward again, and come back either into that swaying ragdoll or walk your hands underneath your feet. Look forward, lengthen through your spine, and then bow over the legs as the shoulders draw down the back. One more breath in. Exhale. Hands to the floor again. Step it back to downward facing dog. And we'll turn the toes back out on that 30 degrees, the right side. Keep the knees somewhat straight, keep the legs somewhat straight here. Bend your left knee, push actively through your right hand, and shift your right hip back. Come back to center and turn your left toes out. Somewhat straighten that left leg. Bend your right knee. Push actively through your left hand. Feeling that stretch. Bring it back to center and just kind of walk it out again. And then lift up onto the toes. Sink the heels down, curl the toes up towards the shins. Lift up onto the toes, sink it down, curl. One more time, lift up, sink it down, curl. Look forward, step to the front of the mat, come into a seated position. You're more than welcome to sit up onto something. So if you sit up onto a block, or maybe if you have a pillow handy, you could grab that. Bring the soles of the feet together and just kind of find a shape here. You don't necessarily need to keep a nice long spine and fold forward all the way to the floor or the ground. Just find a shape. Feel the stretch there on the inner thighs, inner hips. Maybe even feeling it a little bit through your upper back as well. Take one more breath here. Exhale. And then start to sit up. Send your legs out in front of you as you lower down onto your back. Take your left shin up on top of your right thigh and flex your left foot. Bring your arms out nice and wide, like into a T position. And just drop your left foot over towards the right hand side. So you're still keeping this kind of figure 4 action here through the legs. And then maybe you want to look over towards the left hand side. Bring it back in through center and then lift your right leg up here. Interlace your fingers behind your right hamstring and draw in towards your chest. Now, if you have a strap or a towel, you're more than welcome to use that instead of using your hands. That can be a nice assistance. And just feel the stretch on the outer hip. And this is a great stretch to do in replacement of pigeon. So sometimes pigeon pose, if you know it, bothers the knees. Same thing with child's pose. So this is a nice variation that you can do that really does get into your hip a lot and should not bother the knees. Take one more breath. Exhale it out. And then release that side. We'll switch to the other side. So now your right shin will come on top of your left thigh. Bring your bring your arms out wide like a T position. Flex your right foot and then drop over towards the left hand side. Maybe you look to the right. Feel a stretch here. You might feel it through the outer hip, maybe a little bit through the glute, through the side waist. And then bring it back through center. Keep this. Lift your left leg, interlace your fingers behind your left hamstring and hug in towards your chest. Use your strap or your towel if you need that. One more breath here. And then go ahead and release and hug your knees in towards your chest and just make little circles in one direction with your knees. And then make little circles in the other direction. And then just start to rock and roll up. And then swing your legs around, step it back to downward facing dog again. Lift your toes up again, so you're really getting back into those calves. And then bring the toes down, walk your hands in towards your feet, halfway lift, fold over the legs. And then rise all the way up to stand and reach your arms up and bring it in. And you did it. Thank you very much, you guys. Great job. And thanks for joining me this week. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you.